When people ask me about my research, they're often surprised to hear that back pain is the most costly healthcare problem we have in the world, in that back pain costs more to treat than cancer and diabetes combined. That's quite a lot of money. So in a lot of costly healthcare problems, we often assume the solution is to spend more money on it. And in some cases that might be justifiable, if, and it's a big if your current treatments are already working. However, that's clearly not the case with back pain. What I mean by that is, 30 years ago, lots of people still had back pain, but they were less disabled than they are nowadays. So for example, people with back pain 30 years ago were more likely to be able to work, to be able to participate in sport, hobbies and activities than they are now. And we don't see that same increase in disability in other chronic diseases like diabetes or cardiovascular disease. So there's something particularly wrong with the way we've treated chronic low back pain. In terms of figuring out where we've gone wrong, I'm going to today talk about two specific errors we've probably made in the management of back pain. The first one, we've probably placed too big an emphasis on trying to protect the back. We see this in advice to sit a certain way and not that way. Don't lift that way, lift this way. We even see it with children and school bags where we make children petrified about trying to lift a school bag. There's two problems with this. First of all, these factors do not cause chronic back pain. So yes, people can hurt their back while lifting, but the reason it doesn't get better is not because they lift more than other people. So there's two problems with this approach. Firstly, these things in themselves don't cause back pain. So yes, you might hurt your back initially while lifting something, but the reason your back pain doesn't recover is not because you continue to lift more than other people. A second problem is that all these helpful forms of advice reinforce the idea that your back is a very vulnerable structure that needs to be protected. And unfortunately, that leads to people avoiding the very things they need to do, like returning to work, practicing physical activity and making their back stronger. A second key error we've made traditionally in the management of back pain was being intuitively drawn to the idea that if we got a good enough picture of the back, using X-rays and MRI scans, that we'd be able to figure out exactly what's going on and provide the right treatment. However, as these scans have become more available, what we've started to realize is a lot of the stuff we see in these scans is a little bit like wrinkles and baldness, something I know a bit about myself, and that these are things that happen due to your genetics and due to aging, but they're not related to disease or pathology. And the words we use to describe these things like disc degeneration, when really they're not that important in the development of chronic back pain. In some cases, what we see on scans is actually related to back pain. But even in these cases, let's say it's a very big disc bulge which is hitting a nerve and is related to pain, even in these cases, what we see in the scan shrinks over time, same as a swollen ankle would reduce in size over time. In other words, while these scans seem like a nice idea, they're not that important in back pain. Back pain involves a lot more than issues in the local spinal tissues. So if those are two problems, trying to protect the back too much and trying to have too much of a focus on scans of your back, what are better solutions? Firstly, we should try and change our mindset around back pain and not focus on protecting the back, but actually making it physically more robust. Now, this isn't forcing people to be active, but learning from what we see in other conditions. So if we compare it to hamstring injury, for example, if an athlete injures his hamstring, what we would do is, after the initial soreness has settled, strengthen that muscle and gradually get the person back doing jogging and running and sprinting. Because if they just rested and avoid these activities, they will never get back to the same strength. And we see the same with back pain. If in back pain, after the initial pain is resolved, we don't get the person back doing their lifting and bending and exercise, their back will never be recovered. The second aspect is actually not about treating your back, but stepping back and treating the person as a whole. What I mean by that is, while factors like the way you lift might be important and what you see in a scan is important, the big studies in back pain show us that it's actually the person's systemic health that's important. By that I mean their stress levels, their sleep, their mental health, their fitness, the quality of their relationships in their work and home life. And this sometimes surprises people, yet what we are doing increasingly is treating the man and not the scan. So while some of these considerations like sleep and stress can seem to be difficult to treat, that doesn't mean we shouldn't prioritize them. In conclusion, H.L. Mencken once said that for every complex problem, there's an answer that's clear, simple, and wrong. With back pain, we've tried plenty of these clear and simple responses. We've tried cracking it, rubbing it, stretching it, manipulating it, injecting it, cutting it out. And we've given simplistic advice. Sit this way, not that way. Don't bend, or bend a different way. What we're suggesting is that we have to step back and, first of all, challenge the idea that your back is something that's vulnerable, needs to be protected. Instead, make it physically more robust by practicing the things that are challenging, even if that's done gradually and slowly over time. We need to challenge the prevailing consensus that scans and imaging are the solution to back pain. And we need to remember that while muscles and discs and bones are part of the picture of back pain, essentially we're treating people. And even if that makes our life a bit more complicated, that's the challenge we face. At the University of Limerick, we place a big emphasis on the difference between nice ideas, which sound intuitively appealing, and then those ideas and concepts which have been proven to be effective. So if you'd like to find out more about how we discriminate between these ideas in our teaching and our research, then you can contact me at the Department of Clinical Therapies at the University of Limerick.